Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 285 based on novel. So let's start. Hearing the words of the Lord of the Owl Hall, Xiao Yan's face became a little strange. Although he didn't know why Tang Long died, what Xiao Yan can understand now is that after his cultivation has broken through to the Tu Xingyuan Emperor, if he tries his best to display the Buddha Anger Lotus and believes in the Four Xingyuan sect, it is no longer within his bearing range, so, even if the Lord of the Owl Hall has broken through his cultivation, it doesn't contain much pressure for him. Since the Lord of the Owl Hall is so confident, let's make a difference between you and me today. Xiao Yang smiled, turned his palm, and held it with his 5 fingers. A huge black ruler painted black also appeared in the palm of his hand. His heart moved. But when he heard the bang, the raging flame also covered the ruler. At the moment of the rising flame, the temperature between heaven and earth suddenly rose, and the original cool and comfortable air, they all became hot and dry in an instant. Together with the poison clouds surging in the distant sky, they also rolled back a little involuntarily. The power of different fire can be seen. Seeing this, the Lord of the Owl Hall snorted coldly, and soon the broad black robe swung violently, the dark fog spread rapidly, and a loud sound of gold and iron came out of the black fog. Soon, several chains wrapped in the strange black fog shot out of the black fog like poisonous snakes, wound around the Lord of the Owl Hall, and stared at Xiao Yang like living creatures. "Jie, this time, you will not escape." The Lord of the Owl Hall smiled coldly. When the black fog surged, the dark chain coiled around him suddenly trembled, and immediately turned into dark lightning and shot straight at Xiao Yang. At the same time, Xiao Yang held a heavy ruler in his hand and didn't wait for any emotional fluctuation in his dark eyes. His eyes stared at the chain, and his steps moved slightly, followed by the next moment, a black lightning bolt went straight through the void. Ding! Almost at the same time, the giant ruler suddenly picked up in his hand, and the broad ruler edge knocked cleanly at the lower end of the chain, making a crisp sound of ding. Between the bursts of fire, the strange black fog lingering on the chain melted away like melting snow, and the chain was also driven back by the trend. When Xiao Yang flew a chain without any pause, his wrist turned over, and his huge ruler waved rapidly. With just a few simple moves, he drove back all the chain's shot. In the scarlet eyes of the Lord of the Owl Hall, he couldn't help but coagulate slightly. Even if he turned into a sneer, his hands were raised quickly, his fingers were linked, and the seal was determined to play quickly. In the lingering black fog around the body, more than a dozen black chains shot out, intertwined with those chains, turned into a huge iron net, and shrouded the path towards Xiao Yang. Soul-binding net. With a gentle sound, the huge chain iron net had already enveloped Xiao Yang's body, like a cage, trapping him in it. At the same time, on each chain, a thick black fog poured out, turned into a big mouth, and bit Xiao Yang's body. Liuhe swimming ruler. After sweeping the dark chains around his body, Xiao Yang's face was cold and his mouth was low. At the same time, the Xian heavy ruler in his hand was waved again. With the rapid flying of the ruler's body, flames spread all over Xiao Yang's body. When the chain cage was close, the flames from the ruler's front would roar and collide with the chain, and the black fog dispersed. The chain will also be shaken back a little until Zhuan Chongqi completely collided with the chain. In the continuous collision, the giant ruler flew around and the fire burst. Until the place where the fire orn collided with the chain burst, Xiao Yang angrily split the giant ruler in his hand, cut off the chain and separated from it. "Who?" With a light breath, Xiao Yang looked at the Lord of the Owl Hall and said with a grin, "It seems that the strength of your 4-star source sect is nothing more than that. You want to die." As soon as Xiao Yang's words fell, the face of the Lord of the Owl Hall immediately became gloomy. With a heavy voice, it was more than 10 dark chains, which came out again, divided into all directions, broke the void like lightning, and pointed to the key points of Xiao Yang. Looking at the more than 10 chains that shot again, Xiao Yang glanced a sneer in his eyes, and his heart moved. In the void in front of him, the power of the road quickly condensed. At the same time, the soul power in the center of his eyebrows also swept out at this moment. Hiss! The chains cut through the void, leaving only a remnant of Xiao Yang. On the void not far away, Xiao Yang's figure slowly solidified. At the moment of opening his eyes, the painted black chains exploded. He quickly mobilized the source gas in his body, dodged the chains dangerously, and then turned his body, and the flames in his hands quickly condensed into a huge flame ruler, then they collided again. At the same time, on the lower wall, a figure in black robes slowly stepped out of the tent of the avenue and looked at the scene of chasing each other in the sky with interest. There was a sense of banter in his smile. Looking at this person again, it was Xiao Yang. As for the one in the sky, his cultivation was the same as that of Xiao Yang. It is the product of the 9 incarnations. Although the cultivation of the 9 incarnations can only stagnate at the peak of the Source King, fortunately, after integration, the cultivation of the incarnation can be comparable to the current Xiao Yang body. Of course, the difference is that the combat power is slightly weakened, but it can also reach the point of confusing the true with the false, so that the strong people who have such cultivation of the Lord of the Owl Hall can't distinguish the true from the false. However, just as Xiao Yang was staring at the sky, during the battle between the Avatar and the Lord of the Owl Hall, somewhere outside the city, between the mountains and forests shrouded in poison fog, a figure in black robe was staring at him with vague eyes. His killing intention was not reduced at all, and this person was Xu Zhen. As a disciple of the sect, he didn't take part in the First World War today. One reason is to make it easier for him to do it secretly. Another reason is not to let the top echelons of a zone recognize him easily. At the moment, although Xiao Yang avoided the sight of the Lord of the Owl Hall, Xu Zhen, who has been carefully observing the war situation outside the bureau, noticed Xiao Yang at a glance. At the moment, I was surprised to see that the latter actually had such a terrible embodiment of cultivation, but fortunately, such means were destined not to be used on him. Now, the only thing he lacked was an opportunity to surprise and kill Xiao Yang. The Avenue of Ghost. Ghosts devour souls. In the void, the subject of the Owl Hall gave a very cold drink. In the void around him, strange black fog quickly gathered to form several strange twisted black holes, which shrouded around Xiao Yang, but heard the sound of chain friction, accompanied by a fierce neighing sound and countless illusory black ghosts. Suddenly, he came out of those black holes, holding a black chain, tore through the void with a very cold breath, and shot at Xiao Yang at the moment. In this regard, Xiao Yang, who was surrounded at the moment, was frowned. After several wars, the light on the huge ruler of the flame in his hand was obviously dimmed, and there was little source gas in his body. At the moment, the Lord of the Owl Hall went all out. He was afraid it would be difficult to resist his attack. However, in spite of that, Xiao Yang's dark eyes could not help but flash a light. Seeing the countless ghosts around him and the increasingly bloody light in the eyes of the Lord of the Owl Hall, the corners of his mouth rose slowly. The next moment, he frantically mobilized the remaining source chi in his body. In the unbelievable eyes of the Lord of the Owl Hall, the whole human body is also expanding rapidly and uncontrollably at the moment. The violent energy overflowed from all parts of the body, and the broken cracks spread rapidly on the body. At the same time, the face under the main mask of the Owl Hall suddenly changed at the moment. This guy. He's going to explode. The Lord of the Owl Hall can't imagine that Xiao Yang's personality will be forced to this extent. As far as he knows, the latter in the past, no matter what kind of desperate situation, has never done such a crazy move. Boom. This time, before the Lord of the Owl Hall could distinguish the true from the false, the earth-shaking explosion was already ringing through the sky. The powerful energy storm destroyed the fighting skills of the Lord of the Owl Hall at the moment of sweeping. The sky where they were located was also broken due to the powerful energy windstorm, and countless ghosts were looted in an instant. The fighting skills were destroyed. While the latter was implicated, the energy storm immediately followed him again, blew his body out. Under the impact of such terrible energy, he took the attack with the cultivation of the Lord of the Owl Hall and the current state. Even if it was not seriously injured, it was enough to make him pay a painful price. There are countless eyes all over the city. Looking at the terrible energy sweeping across the sky, they are all shocked. It's even harder to believe that Xiao Yang will fight against the Lord of the Owl Hall by self-explosion. At this moment, I'm afraid there are only Xiao Yixian and others and Xu Zhen outside the city. On the other hand, in the battle circle of Luo Cheng and others, People turned their eyes one after another because of the terrible explosion. Looking at the scene in front of them, Luo Cheng and others also had a fierce surge in their hearts. They also couldn't believe the scene in front of them. They didn't seem to understand anything until they saw the calm look of Xiao Yixian and others. Then he again focused on Xu Shuang and others in front of him. At this moment, the amazing energy storm in the sky slowly dispersed, and the figure of the Lord of the Owl Hall finally appeared in front of everyone again. At the moment, the Lord of the Owl Hall, his black robe was broken, and most of the black fog around his body was dispersed, revealing his thin body like firewood. His dark skin was stained with blood everywhere. Strange black runes were scattered all over his body, and they were emitting strange lights. It was precisely because of the existence of this rune, to prevent him from being seriously injured in the previous explosion. Cough, cough. After a violent cough, the corners of the mouth under the main mask of the Owl Hall finally aroused a cold smile. Xiao Yang was defeated in his hands. Although he died in the end, as long as he didn't kill him himself, it naturally can't blame him. As for now. While sneering, the Lord of the Owl Hall raised his sight slowly from bottom to top. After passing a dark shadow, he immediately put it on the little medical immortal and others at the moment, and wanted to mobilize the remaining source gas in his body. But at this time, his eyes suddenly changed, his sight quickly withdrew, and then he clearly saw that a residual shadow was slowly dispersing above the wall of Qianyun Villa, and look at the shape of the residual shadow, it is undoubtedly Xiao Yang. Is that Xiao Yang? Seeing this scene, the eyes of the Lord of the Owl Hall suddenly coagulated. At the moment when the sense of horror rose in the bottom of his heart, the next second, there was a sharp breaking wind in the void in front of him. The customers of the Owl Hall couldn't be left or right. While his mood was tense, his feet stepped on the void and his body hurried back. Just when his figure retreated suddenly, a strange figure appeared directly at his position the moment before. The fist wrapped by the purple flame bombarded the void, and the invisible void burst and collapsed immediately. Well, did you have a good time just now? One punch failed, and a sneer appeared on Xiao Yang's face. His body trembled and disappeared again. When the Lord of the Owl Hall looked up, he saw that Xiao Yang's figure disappeared again, and a cold chill suddenly rose in his heart. He was really careless. What had exploded under the siege of many ghosts was really not Xiao Yang, but look at Xiao Yang's terrible speed at the moment, even the overall strength has not weakened much, which makes the Lord of the Owl Hall even more frightened. They clearly fought for hundreds of rounds, but why is Xiao Yang so powerful at this time? Hee, are you curious? Let my fist tell you. Cold laughter came from the ear. The Lord of the Owl Hall suddenly changed his face, stamped his feet in the void, and suddenly stopped his retreating body. He turned around in horror, raised his hands quickly, and spared no effort to condense the source gas in his body between his palms. Immediately, a large mass of black fog surged forward under the mixed source gas, and then exploded violently. Before the ferocious shock wave formed by the explosion was completely dispersed, it was blocked in its place by an invisible force out of thin air, and then it seemed as if there was an invisible wall. The next moment, the fist-burning purple flame was blasted out, strong and domineering, directly passed through the afterwave of the explosion and hit the Lord of the Owl Hall heavily on the chest. Bang! With a hard blow, the Lord of the Owl Hall immediately gave a hoarse scream in his throat, and his body immediately flew out of control. Compared with a few months ago, you are no longer qualified to be my opponent. There was a low cry in his throat. Xiao Yang suddenly stamped the void with the soles of his feet, and then followed up. His right fist suddenly lifted up, and his eyes stared at the Lord of the Owl Hall close at hand. The cold killing intention in his eyes showed without any concealment. Almost at the same time, outside the villa, Shuzhen secretly turned the source qi in his body and quietly climbed up the wall. When everyone's attention was focused on Xiao Yang, the residual poison in his body covered his breath. Shuzhen quickly gathered strength in his palm and quietly gathered a painted black tent in the void in front of him. In the sky above Qianyun Villa, Xiao Yang was less than 1 meter away from the Lord of the Owl Hall in front of him. His fist-burning purple flame fiercely crossed the void. The wind of hunting rang through the void, and the invisible void set off a circle of invisible ripples. Between heaven and earth, Countless eyes focused on Xiao Yang and the Lord of the Owl Hall. Looking at the increasingly short distance between them, everyone held their breath at this moment. The Lord of the Owl Hall was full of fear, and there was no time to mobilize the remaining trace of source qi in his body. The whole body was out of control because of Xiao Yang's fist just now. At present, he could only watch Xiao Yang's fist expand rapidly in his eyes, and a sense of fear rose rapidly from the bottom of his heart. No, 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 you can't kill me. I'm the Lord of the Ghost Temple and the Deacon of the Ghost Break Door. If you kill me, the Ghost Break Door will never let you have a foothold in the middle region. The hoarse roar hurried out from his throat. The hot fire had made his skin feel a sharp tingling, but Xiao Yang ignored it and gave a sarcastic sneer and said in a cold voice, If I don't kill you, you will let me go? While the sneer fell, the power contained in Xiao Yang's fist soared again at this moment. Once this fist fell, the Lord of the Owl Hall would die. But just then, on the void not far behind Xiao Yang, a black-painted tent quickly solidified. At the same time, the little medical fairy first noticed the strange shape behind Xiao Yang. The look in her beautiful eyes immediately solidified. The next moment, when a human shadow swept out of the tent, the little medical fairy's delicate body also swept forward at a lightning speed. Xiao Yang, be careful. The scream full of worry suddenly sounded, and the people noticed the suddenly appeared black-robed figure behind Xiao Yang. However, according to Xiao Yang's situation, it was too late to respond. Bai Hua and others had been a step late even if they shot. Only the little medical fairy at the moment had rushed forward at the moment when the black-robed figure appeared. If you were lucky, maybe we can stop Xiao Yang before the man in black robes shoots him. However, it is obviously impossible to stop Xu Zhan, who is the Source Emperor, with the cultivation of small medical immortals. In heaven and earth, the mood of countless people became tense at this moment. Bai Hua and Luo Jin on one side were in a violent rush. Even if they were fighting at the fastest speed, they still had no time to deal with the current situation. In a twinkling of an eye, the man in black appeared behind Xiao Yang. When Xiao Yang hit the Lord of the Owl Hall with a fist, a white palm, also at this time, Xiao Yang's vest fell hard. In order to kill Xiao Yang, Xu Zhan's palm, but with his full attention, he is bound to kill Xiao Yang here with one blow. The power of this palm can be imagined with the full blow of a 6-star Source Emperor. The white palm crossed the void, and the powerful force turned the surrounding space into a vacuum. A concave arc was pressed out in front of the palm, and the sound of sonic boom continued to spread around the ears. In the city below, countless people looked at the scene in the sky in a tense mood. While the black-robed man slapped down, the beautiful shadow in a white dress was the distance between the two. It was also rapidly pulled closer. Yu Guang in the corner of his eye looked at the shadow of the desperate little doctor. Xiao Yang's mood changed dramatically, and his face became completely gloomy at this moment. The rapidly falling fist was pulled back with all his strength. Although he deliberately intercepted it, all this has reached an irreparable point. Even if Xiao Yang tried his best, his forward body shape is doomed to be irreparable in time. In the next moment, Xiao Yang's fist that was about to fall on the chest of the Lord of the Owl Hall was forcibly taken back. The soles of his feet stepped on the void, and the space under his feet collapsed in an instant. His body suddenly stopped rushing forward. The palm of the man in black robe was only a moment away from Xiao Yang's vest, but in this short moment, there was a white shadow, but suddenly, he inserted himself between them and blocked the black-robed man's full blow for Xiao Yang with his own body. Bang! Accompanied by a dull explosion, the man in black robe's full blow in his palm was resisted by the little medical fairy. In his body, a dull explosion of flesh and blood sounded one after another. Almost at the same time, two fierce cheers containing extreme anger and unwilling also suddenly rang through the sky. No! Xiao Yang and Xu Zhan drank in unison. The former didn't expect that the little doctor would sacrifice his life to block the black-robed man's palm for him. Xu Zhan didn't expect that his palm would be blocked by the little doctor who suddenly rushed out. In this way, his career fell short of success. Damn woman, if it weren't for you, the revenge of the Xu family would be avenged today. Under the cover of the black robe, Xu Zhan's face was full of unwilling color. However, after trying his best to use this palm, He also fell into a weak state at the moment. If he didn't have the residual poison in his body, he might have been out of support for a long time, but even so, looking at Xiao Yang still standing in front of him at the moment, Xu Zhen's hatred was more intense. Teacher, things have come to this. It's better for you to kill Xiao Yang and avenge the Xu family. Xu Zhen tried his best to squeeze the residual power in the blood and flesh of various meridians in his body, and asked for the residual poison in his body. At this time, only by relying on the power of the latter, could he kill Xiao Yang. No, you attacked Xiao Yang in public today, which has attracted the attention of many people. If I hadn't covered your breath for you, I'm afraid the old people of Dui sect would have to recognize you. If I did it now, I wouldn't say that Xiao Yang has recovered now. Even if we really killed him, do you think Wu Poison would be a vegetarian? Once he was killed by him, if I recognize you, my teachers and disciples will lose their lives. But Xiao Yang, don't be a loser this time. Just look for another chance in the future. We can't bury you and me because of this. Let's go. The remaining poison whispered. Even if he controlled Xu Zhen's body, although the latter was unwilling, he still swept away uncontrollably outside the distant battle circle. However, when he turned around, he was stopped by Hua and others who flew from behind from 3 directions. At this time, Xiao Yang is a small medical immortal with a dull face and a white face in his arms. He feels the anger quickly dissipated on the latter. His calm dark eyes have become blood red at the moment. Together with his whole body, he is shaking uncontrollably. His heart is not only frightened, but also full of crazy killing intention. In the sky, Xiao Yang sat out of thin air. In his arms was a small medical fairy with pale face and weak breath. At the moment, the latter's whole delicate body was paralyzed in Xiao Yang's arms. The blood covered his body like red petals spread all over his body. There was still a large amount of blood pouring out of his mouth, and the only trace of vitality left in his beautiful eyes was disappearing rapidly. If it weren't for the familiar warmth on Xiao Yang's body at this time, she would have been out of breath. Xiao Yang's face turned red, and his eyes became red with blood because of his anger. The green tendons on his forehead were bulging and twisted like worms. The killing intention in his heart made the void around him distort and spread out in visible waves. Feeling the gloomy anger on the little medical fairy, Xiao Yang hurriedly took out a pill from the ring. It was the best healing pill in his hand. But when he was about to take it for the little medical fairy, the latter struggled to stop it. He spit out words vaguely. Every word he said, a stream of blood gushed out, rolling down his cheeks to the jade neck that had been dyed red by blood. Xiao Yang quickly accumulated hot tears in his eyes. Since he came to Yuanwu mainland, Xiao Yang knew clearly that the latter was one of his few close relatives on the mainland. He took one of the roads with him to protect her integrity, but Xiao Yang never thought that one day he would let the little medical fairy die for him. Not only did Xiao Yang know that after the man in black robe hit him with all his strength, but also Xiao Yang knew that the former could not survive. Even Xiao Yang might not survive such a blow, let alone his cultivation was far inferior to his little doctor. No, I can die in your arms for you. I have no complaints. I'm unwilling. Stop talking. You have to hold on. I won't let you do anything. Xiao Yang's voice was hoarse. He opened his mouth and made a sound. He grabbed the wrist of the little medical fairy with one hand. The huge soul power quickly poured into the latter's body, but then he was interrupted by the little medical fairy. It's useless. There's no chance. I'm just unwilling. I can only accompany you here. I am. How I want to. While the little doctor was struggling, the blood gushing from his mouth became more and more intense. A jade hand stretched out to the collar with the last remaining strength and tried its best to take out the jade pendant and want to return it to Xiao Yang, but the jade pendant turned into a piece of dark green ash and fell on the little doctor's delicate body at the same time. Don't talk, I won't let you have anything. Hold on, when you're cured, I promise you everything you want, don't. Xiao Yang loses his voice and wants to stop Xiao Yang from opening his mouth, but at this time, where will the latter listen to him again? I really want to accompany you all my life like them. At this moment, the little medical fairy who struggled to the end still couldn't help crying. Even the physical pain was far less severe and cruel than the inner pain. From beginning to end, the man who hugged her like a lover at the moment could only make her stop and look at it forever. Until now, she was dying. She was always lying in Xiao Yang's arms, but it was a pity, it was too late to make her happy. This embrace is both warm and slow. After all, the little doctor smiled brightly. The smile was full of sadness and loneliness. The beautiful eyes closed slowly, and the hot and cold tears fell down. The whole delicate body lay in Xiao Yang's arms like a blooming red lotus. At this moment, Xiao Yang's eyes were dazed. He looked at the sleeping little doctor in his arms for a moment. Ah! Suddenly, Xiao Yang in the void suddenly looked up to the sky and gave a roar like thunder, like a bolt from the blue, which shocked the people present, and his eyes involuntarily turned to this side. At the same time, many people noticed the black-robed man surrounded by the 3 white birches. When they saw this man, they were a little surprised, but then he continued to pay attention to Xiao Yang. Until this time, Liana, with red cheeks, swept into the sky. Xiao Yang's eyes were indifferent and slowly handed over the little medical fairy in his arms to the latter. His body gradually relaxed and his arms drooped. However, he saw that the black-robed man behind him was cold in his heart and didn't dare to be careless. Hiss! Suddenly, Xiao Yang's palm was firmly grasped in the void, and the dark ruler fell into his palm. Just when the black-robed man noticed the huge ruler suddenly emerging in Xiao Yang's hand, Xiao Yang's body suddenly turned back, and his crazy and murderous eyes locked the black-robed man's body in an instant, and his body movement was as fast as lightning. The raging purple fire filled the Shenchong ruler in an instant, and the vast source gas in the body swept outward without any spare power. Then, a startling ruler orn suddenly shot out and fell towards the black-robed man. With such a rapid offensive and the distance between the two at the moment, the black-robed man has no possibility to avoid, but with his own cultivation, he is not afraid of the residual poison under the black robe. With the help of Shu Zhen's body, the black source gas between his hands condenses rapidly, 10 fingers interact, seal knot change, and then his 2 palms push forward. Bang! Even though he was in a hurry after the remaining poison, he didn't lose the blow with his excellent cultivation. However, when his palm just fell, the Xian heavy ruler in Xiao Yang's hand was one after another, and even the first ruler. Xiao Yang waved 7 feet one after another. When the remaining poison complexion changed, the vigorous source gas also rushed up immediately. Unexpectedly, he resisted all the power of the 7 feet. That's all. The remaining poison sneered, and the surging source gas in the palm of his hand puffed out again. He wanted to break the magnificent foot condensed by the 7 feet and orns to Shengsheng. However, at this time, the mysterious heavy ruler in Xiao Yang's hand was waved again. 8 feet. 7 feet break the sky. After 7 feet, regenerate 1 foot. The power of this foot is comparable to the previous 7 feet, or even worse. At the moment of the 8th foot, even the source qi in Xiao Yang's body was consumed, and even the soul power was affected. Bang! The strength on the feet and orns in front of him suddenly increased, and there was a sharp pain in the palms of both palms. The strength condensed between the palms was not enough to hold on. The remaining poison's face suddenly changed. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yang's combat power suddenly became so terrible. He didn't dare to be hesitant at the moment. The source gas in his body was quickly mobilized, and the 2 palms shook hard, and the surging source gas immediately surged up. The body shaking violently also stabilized temporarily. Buzz! But at the same time, Xiao Yang waved the giant ruler again, the broad ruler front fell down, and another ruler Mangwang shot out like a startling goose. 9th foot. When 9 feet were wielded, they melted into one place like lightning. The power of the remaining poison at the moment also soared several times suddenly. The source gas between the 2 palms just gathered. Then, the terrible Kai Mang broke all his offensives strongly, and then fiercely split on his chest. Together with this world, it was cut in half in an instant. 9 feet, broken sky. Looking at this terrible scene on the court, many people held their breath at this moment. All the top leaders of Tianyun Mountain Villa were shocked. They could release such terrible energy with the cultivation of Yuan Huang. No wonder Wu Poison Club said that he killed his elders. Xiao Yang was 9 feet in succession. I'm afraid they would treat him alone, and they might not be their opponents. This boy. I'm afraid the power of this fighting skill is comparable to the Italian level. No wonder he is so strong and powerful. He can really create some valuable achievements by relying on his mind-level fighting skills. This child is hopeful in the future. Looking at Xiao Yang with a crazy look on his face at the moment, all the people in the Luo family are surprised. The only Source Emperor can release such terrible energy. If he really grows up in the future, what can he do? So now, it is the key period for them to have a good relationship with them. Fortunately, this war will lay the most solid foundation for their relationship. In the sky, when Xiao Yang fell 9 feet, the body of the black-robed man was blown out in the blink of an eye. At the moment, although the source gas in Xiao Yang's body was almost exhausted, his eyes were more murderous. He roared, and the soles of his feet stepped heavily on the void, which made the space hollow. At the same time, his body suddenly shot out of the void under his feet. It finally collapsed at the moment when his body was plundered. As for the residual poison at this time, even if he didn't die, he was already seriously injured. Together with Xu Zhen's body, he also suffered heavy damage. If he wasn't protected by the residual poison, I'm afraid Xu Zhen would be killed by him just with that blow. The shadow of the black-robed man fell towards the outside of the city like a broken kite. Xiao Yang's body quickly crossed the sky, and on his clenched fist, there was only a thin layer of purple fire left at the moment. Even so, he must kill the black-robed man here. Later, Li Bingrui just wanted to catch up, but then he was stopped by Luo Jin and the little doctor died. What does this mean to Xiao Yang? They naturally understand that the life and death competition should be settled by Xiao Yang himself. They can't intervene. Helpless, Li Bingrui came down and went to Liana's place. Luo Jin followed him after a short hesitation. Birch took a deep breath and looked at the direction Xiao Yang was chasing away. She couldn't help worrying at the bottom of her heart. On the other side, the Lord of the Owl Hall, who survived the death at the moment, suddenly had a strange black cloth bag in his hand, which was covered with strange runes and sent out a dim light from time to time. The most surprising thing was that the cloth bag seemed to contain living creatures and was wriggling in bursts. At this moment, the Lord of the Owl Hall looked at the cloth bag in his hand, and a pair of scarlet eyes, bloodthirsty as growing. Somewhere in the sky, the ghost looked at Xiao Yang chasing out of the city, but a sneer could not help but appear on his old face. In front of him, the fire candle saw his appearance, and could not help frowning. His sight turned around on Xiao Yang and the former, and immediately stepped forward, and the strong breath swept again. I advise you to take care of yourself first when making other people's ideas. Fire candle, don't be complacent too early. I said that Xiao Yang is bound to win this trip today. Even you can't stop him. Hearing the speech, the ghost fell into a dark smile, his body trembled slightly, and the strong breath gushed out again. Outside the city, under Xiao Yang's crazy pursuit, the distance between him and the man in black robe finally became closer and closer. The purple flame burning on his fist suddenly appeared under the roar of the strong wind. Finally, when Xiao Yang came behind the man in black robe, the latter's body was one step ahead of others and disappeared into the black poison fog. Seeing the black-robed man who was close at hand, Xiao Yang was more murderous, fighting for the last remaining trace of source gas in his body. His body suddenly shook, and the speed of rushing forward suddenly accelerated. In the end, at the moment when the black-robed man didn't enter the poison fog, a punch was printed on his chest. Bang! Only a dull collision sound was heard. A large mouthful of blood was sprayed out of the black-robed man's mouth for a long time. The blood shot from his mouth immediately turned into a blood arrow and was shooting at Xiao Yang's face door. The latter roared fiercely in his mouth at the moment of the blood arrow, and a cluster of flame shot out, burning the oncoming blood arrow out of thin air. In the twinkling of an eye, the black-robed man's body completely disappeared in the poison fog. When Xiao Yang rushed into it and resisted the erosion of the poison fog with his body, the black-robed man had disappeared. Out of the poisonous fog, Xiao Yang's body trembled, and his face became purple. Although he was eroded by the poisonous fog, the man in black robe escaped from the sky, which was the biggest resentment in his heart. Jejia! The The most important person to yourself is dead. Your heart must be very painful. However, at this time, in the void in front of Xiao Yang, the body strangely became a bloated Owl Hall Lord, but appeared again. At this time, the latter seemed to recover a lot. With Xiao Yang at this time, I'm afraid the consequences would be unimaginable once he started with it. Seeing this scene, the fire and candle in the sky frowned and worried. The ghost break door is really crazy. In order to catch Xiao Yang, even his soul binding bag doesn't hesitate to devour it. Yeah, I've always been reckless in doing things at the ghost gate. As long as I can complete the task, it's good to die. Today, Xiao Yang is bound to be in the bag of my ghost gate. Hearing the speech, the ghost fell with a sly smile, and his body immediately rushed forward. His 5 fingers were close together, the source gas of his fingertips gathered into a cone, and he fiercely inserted it into the throat of the candle. That's not necessarily true. Fearless of the oncoming ghost fall, the invisible flame between the 2 hands of the candle immediately surged up. Let the 5 fingers insert into the flame and bring up a hissing burning sound. When the ghost fall's face changed, he looked again at the location of Xiao Yang at the moment, but saw Xiao Yang at the moment. In the center of his eyebrows, an old mysterious rune was gradually looming. At the same time, at the moment, behind the Lord of the Owl Hall, the 2 fingers of the white birch turned into a sword. It was right on the back of the Lord's head. The strong power broke out instantaneously. Xiao Yang in the front also hit the head of the Lord of the Owl Hall. This waste. Seeing this scene, the look on the ghost's old face suddenly changed, and his eyes turned to the fire in front of him, but he saw that the latter was pounding hard at his face door, and there was a cold flash in the eyes burning invisible fire. However, just as the palm of the candle was about to fall on the ghost falling door, an invisible force immediately blocked the invisible void between the 2. At the same time, a cold laughter of yin pity also came out. I haven't seen a candle for many years. I'm good at heart. This video will end here.